Everybody, in this micro lecture is about what a marketing plan is. There's lots of ways, of course, to look at it, and there's lots of views and opinions on it, but what I'm showing you is a composite of all the marketing plans I've done and what are the common features that I've seen throughout. So one of the first things I would say about marketing plans is they're ultimately a map. They basically give you an outline of a path to get you to your destination. That's important for two reasons. It tells you where you're going along the way, and as obvious as it may sound, it also tells you what is the destination, what is actually where you're trying to go. So that needs to be outlined in your plan. There are no shortage of quotes on this subject, lots and lots of them. Here's a few that I kind of like. Failing to plan is planning to fail. I think you need to have a plan. You really need to understand what your plan is. And to kind of just jump into things usually doesn't end very well. This is my personal favorite. People plan, God laughs. Well, it just goes to show that every plan has got points of failure in it, and your real role as a manager is to understand that you are failing and making the right kinds of corrections to get yourself back on track. Okay. So a general framework of a marketing plan has two basic elements to it. One of them is a strategic element, and one of them is a tactical element. The strategic element is to identify the organization's mission and strategy. You're probably not going to do this in a plan. You're just going to outline it in a plan. But in the case of some organizations, you might have to actually put it to, really give it some definition. You want to define overall strategy of the organization. You want to clearly state the growth strategy of the organization. Very important thing to do, because you need to understand what their level of risk of tolerance is. Some organizations is very low. Some is pretty high because they desire very aggressive growth. Other companies are trying to just eke out some profit. So you really need to understand where that is before you actually, put together this plan, because your marketing plan has to fit into the plan that you've identified into the overall growth strategy of the organization. Make sure it fits. If it doesn't, it's likely not going to be adopted. The tactical elements now start to look like that thing we talked about before, the marketing management framework. The very first thing you're going to do is determine the STP, which is clearly defining the market that you're going after. And you can put that into certain terms. So you're going to clearly define market demographics. Demographics are a lot of different things. This list could be hundreds of items long, but we're going to go for the basic ones here. Age, income, gender, family structure, education. There's a lot of different things there. You might be interested to find out that income is one that is easily identified, which is not a very comforting feeling, but nonetheless, it's out there. You also want to define market psychographics, which are really kind of descriptions of lifestyle, attitudes, life goals, things like that. Psychographics are an important part of it as well. And then you have to think about it from a geographic standpoint. There's, we can define people in terms of where they live. You might live in a rural area, you might live in a suburban area, you might live in an urban area, you might live in one of the coasts of the country. There's lots of different ways to define that, but it requires some definition. And then ultimately, you want to know, is the defined target market a fit into the organization's strategy and strengths? So I can think of more than one instance where I introduced a marketing plan that was kind of a stretch in terms of who the target market was compared to what the target market was for the organization at the time. And that, of course, came under much larger scrutiny. Rightfully so, by the way, because it's more risky. Essentially, I'm going after a different customer. The other part of the technical elements of the plan are to define the plan for the 4Ps with the target segments clearly in mind. I think that's the important point here. Once you've identified your target segments, it's really, really important to keep them in mind as you develop the tactical elements of your plan in terms of the 4Ps of marketing. So product, develop the processes that solidifies current and future costs. Price, what's the strategy you're going to use? There's a skimming strategy. We're going to talk about all these things in detail as we go along, but I just want to talk about them here in relationship to the plan. Penetration pricing strategy, an economy pricing strategy, a premium pricing strategy. There's lots of them. There's lots of ways to define them. But we ultimately want to know, is our target interested in a really low cost alternative, or are they mostly interested in a price to value relationship? We can all relate to that. Sometimes we're willing to pay more for what we perceive to be greater quality. Place. This is a really interesting one because this is very, a lot of times it's not given a lot of thought. I'm going to be honest. When you look at marketing plans, they kind of say, it's like, oh, we'll just do what we've been doing. Well, that might not be the right strategy. So what is a distribution strategy? Multi-channel, direct, indirect. It all really boils down to, where does our target most likely shop and how? And we have to define those things, and with the target market in mind, because they are not the same for everybody, and so as we define our target market, we can define better where we think they're going to shop. And then from a promotion standpoint, is what is our messaging, likely channel choices, likely channel mix. Where does our target market get information, seeking entertainment, news, all kinds of different things that come into play there. But as you can see, what's the common thread through this whole thing is who our target market is. You're ultimately, in a marketing plan, also going to develop a forecast, because people want to know, well, okay, that's great, but what do we get for it? Okay, so you're going to have to create some market objectives, which include market share growth projections, maybe active customer growth projections. I call those market objectives because those are ones that ultimately provide the continuous revenue source for the organization. So we really need to put those into terms. Simple financial objectives, like, what are the sales projections, both in dollars and in units, whatever the units are. We have to define them in a certain way so everybody understands what we think is going to happen. Gross profit projections, scaling for volume increases. We might actually be able to lower our unit cost because our volume goes up. As we make more of them, our actual cost per unit goes down. I'm not getting into all that. Those are like accounting things. But having said that, they're an important part of what you put in here. Expense projections, just how much are we actually going to spend incrementally based on this new plan being put in place. We're going to spend less on fixed, because fixed expenses are probably already being incurred. But we're going to concentrate more on variable expenses, which are the expenses that are unique to this particular plan being put in place. And not surprisingly, marketing expenses are a significant portion of our forecast, because we're going to be, at first we're going to have to advertise. We're going to be very aggressive about getting our message out there. And it'll be very high at first, particularly when you look at it as a percentage of the sales that are being generated from it. We're probably going to have to answer the question, when will we turn a profit? And the when part is how long it takes. Because when marketing plans are being evaluated, if one says we're going to turn a profit in a year, just is looked at infinitely more favorably than one that says 5 years or 10 years down the road. There has to be a real big return on those types of marketing plans. Okay. Now, one of the things you have to build into it is you have to really understand what information we need to find out if is the plan really working or not. And this is a very difficult question a lot of times to answer, but we need to answer it. And we need to answer it before we start. I always liken it like, you don't want to find out if your parachute works after you jumped out of the airplane. You want to make sure everything's in place before you leave the door of the airplane and understand where you're going. So you really need to get all this stuff squared away. And I've learned this the hard way. You just have to be absolutely insistent on getting it in place before you launch your plan. So there's some trends in marketing planning that are going on. One of them is speed has never been more important. You want to get things to marketplace very quickly, and there's lots of methods to do that. And they're very contrary to what a lot of people in marketing have learned and have put into place. These things are seriously challenging how marketing is being done. So every aspect of new product introduction has had significant time eliminated from it. As an example, I remember making prototypes that would take months to build of a product and cost a fortune, and now you can make them on a 3D printer in an afternoon. It's just amazing how things have changed. Um, Research has changed tremendously. We used to do very copious amounts of research. Now we can mine data, as we talked about. And time to market is a performance measure many marketers strive to reduce. And time to market has become a performance issue for marketing in an organization. I can tell you that without any hesitation. That's exactly what's going on. Agile marketing is quickly being adopted. So there's the ARC supplemental material this week has from McKinsey Consulting, a very highly thought of consulting firm. It's an interesting article called Agile Marketing, a step-by-step guide. In there, they say agile in the marketing context means using data and analytics to continuously source promising opportunities or solutions to problems in real time, deploying tests quickly and evaluating the results and rapidly iterating. I've done this. It's very powerful. So the key steps are, some of these are management speak, I'll admit, but aligns with leadership and sets team expectations, analyzes the data to identify the opportunities, designs and prioritizes tests, runs tests, iterates the idea based on results, scales across the organization. Those are all basic steps of a marketing plan, but they're done at a very, very rapid pace under agile marketing, and the technology is there to do it. So, like I said before, to ignore this is to assume avoidable risk. This is what your competitors are doing, so you're going to have to adopt this and get on it yourself. So, one more of my maxims of marketing. Marketing is changing, and my suggestion to you is be at the front of the change. Be a leader. It's amazing how important it is to be able to do that, and do it very early in your career. It's a very good idea to do. Okay, so that's basically what goes into a marketing plan. We're going to try to put that into place in our class project, and it'll be fun. I think you'll really enjoy it. If you have any questions about anything in this presentation, please let me know. And thank you for listening.